Hello everyone. So another week on Subspace desktop. We will be starting by discussing the new changes, new release, which issues has been solved, and which issues are the new ones. So I'm gonna share my screen, and we can move there. Okay. So as first, we have a new release on the releases, which is 2.1, and in here we fixed macOS signing crash, and also we configured Subspace desktop to be launched on boot as the default option, and there were some couple of bugs related to that. All of them are fixed, so this is now a working feature. We made farming and node sync operation concurrent, and this means like the overall user experience should be faster. You should wait less in the initial plotting screen. We fixed info links on the information model and imported testnet banners to every page. We also fixed the I have copied button, so this is now only available after revealing the mnemonic. These are the issues that are closed between the previous release and this release. And for the next release, we want these features to be working. So upgrading Tauri to the latest version, this is actually being done just today. So this is already done. This is already done also just today. We will be giving more explicit information on the testnet. So in the beginning, there should be an information model that is saying this is a testnet. The rewards you are earning are not real. And
maybe we can discuss maybe about in there, because I am doing that info modal, and the feature itself, just to be confirmed with you guys, is like we are going to have a global model with this information that on the first app launch you got the pop-up in the beginning, like this is a non-incentivized testnet, and the description of what is the non-incentivized testnet, and I agree, and okay, and that will be closed. But anytime the user clicks again in this banner on the main menu, will show the pop-up again. Yeah, is that what we want to show?
But they shouldn't have to click accept again after they do that. They should only have to acknowledge the first time.
Yeah, will be market probably. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, just that.
Yeah, by the way, I'm just giving a brief overview. If you have any questions, please do interrupt me. We had some issues related to folders. For example, we were not using the default paths regarding the operating systems. There is some best practice for macOS, some other best practice for Linux, Windows, etc. Now we are planning to use that. And we are also asking the user to create a folder. Like if we are to create a folder within the app, we are asking for that. Also, there were some couple front-end optimizations regarding displayment of the rewards. When there is too many rewards to display, it was getting kind of, how to say it, laggy. We are planning to fix that. So these are the plans for the next release. So after we test further for the current release, for example, the biggest change was, again, to remind you, macOS signature was incorrect and it was causing the app to crash during node synchronization and initial plotting. We fixed that. We want further confirmations about that. And we also fixed auto launch behavior on all three major platforms. So after getting more feedback on these, we will be turning this pre-release into a real release. At least that's what I'm planning. Any suggestions on that? Like any further tests that we require for turning this into a real release?
I just wanted to let you know that it's been running on my system all night since yesterday, and it still seems to be looking good. So,
Great.
on my new MacBook, that is.
Great.
So.
All these things are. Sorry, go ahead, please.
I was done. Go ahead.
Okay. So I tested these on Linux, Windows, and Mac. Leo, I believe, tested this on Linux as well. So yeah. Any questions about this brief overview?
I guess. Yeah, this is a lot better, Özkan. I like the release notes here. Just a couple comments, just some minor things we can do to improve it. When you put the issue numbers, it's also helpful if you can put the issue names as well, so it's more clear. You don't need to have like issue descriptions or anything, like one line max for those, but the names will help make it more clear.
Actually, I put the link. It converted to the number. I would also, I will put the name also. Yeah.
Okay. I think the bullet points on the what's changed is good. There should probably be like a sentence, like 2 or 3 sentences before that. That's like TLDR, something like that, about this release is always good. Like what's the main point of this release, or is there like a theme to this release, or what's the critical bug that we fix, something like that, instead of just like a long list of stuff that I have to read.
Makes sense. I agree.
Regarding the testing, so we need to get to a formal testing process, and the simplest way to do that is every bug, it's great to like focus on certain bugs, like you've got here, the critical changes, but every single one of those issues should be verified that it worked with like someone who did not write the code.
Exactly. Yeah. By the way, I made a plan about the formal release, but I didn't want to interrupt this session.
Okay, so great. We'll talk about that then. Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
sounds good. But just that's we can talk about that then. Okay, yeah, that's all the comments I have. I think this is really good though.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I got a comment on that also. Yeah. I think that we are just now getting closer to have like a better structure in terms of folders and files. So I can think that we can probably soon make a refactor of several things. And that could also include lint and testings. Because it was all mixed in the beginning.
Okay, is that like an issue that we need to create for a refactoring ticket?
I think that there are some things in the issues related to that, but not explicit. Yeah, we probably have to get to the point to make a big refactor with the same framework that we are using right now, Quasar, Vue, etc. And after that, obviously move to React, maybe something like that. But for now, the next step should be fully clean.
Okay, that's a good point, Leo. Let's hold that thought until we get to the end, and we can talk about next steps. But let's just try to go through what's changed since the last time first in a little more detail.
Okay. So then I can jump into closed PRs, then closed issues. So for the last week, we updated the documentation. This is not a big deal. I will show it to you later. For entitlements, this was related to macOS signing. Basically, macOS is forcing us to have specific keys related to specific operations. For example, network-related operations, we need to include the network key. For external libraries, we need to include that specific key, blah, blah, blah. We found all the necessary keys and included them, so this issue was fixed. Again, this was on launch on boot.
Are all of these in the pre-release that you put out yesterday in the Discord?
Okay, I can only talk about the new ones if you want. Documentation.
No, that's fine.
I'm just
that's okay. No, we can talk about them. I'm just trying to understand. So what you're going through is not necessarily in the latest version that we've downloaded and
exactly. The line is that, like, if you see more than 1 day ago, it's included in pre-release. If it's lesser than 1 day, it's not included in pre-release.
Okay. So I guess we know that just by keeping track in our heads of what day the pre-release was made versus some explicit mechanism.
Okay.
Yeah,
for now, yes. For now,
okay.
yes.
So regarding the entitlements, so I understand. So we sorted out the problem that you brought up on the call on the DevSync on Monday, where we're just using everything. Now we're only using the explicit entitlements that we actually need.
Exactly, because having all the keys are not a good practice because it opens more security breaches. So yeah, we are all good on that. We are only using the ones we need. So this is a big thing. This is really a big thing. So we were struggling really hard on upgrading Tauri to its latest version. There were some dependency issues. We simply got over it by not including the ZSTD feature on Tauri. So another information, the dependency conflict is not yet resolved. So the PR Nazar submitted to ZSTD is not being resolved as far as I know at the moment. But since we got rid of that feature, it's just for compression purposes. So we got rid of it at the moment. And until that PR merges, we will keep it like that. And we can always include it later when we want it. And now we are able to upgrade Tauri to its latest versions, and that opens the possibility to work on other issues, which is a big deal because some of the issues that are currently open are related to Tauri being upgraded. So they will be either solved on their own, or we can work on them efficiently. So this is kind of a gateway to new issues, progression.
Yeah, there are kind of 6 issues, and 2 of them will be automatically fixed with the upgrade. We have to recheck the others.
Yeah, this is just technical detail. We don't need to dive into that. We just, you just need to know that on all 3 major platforms, launch on boot option, disabling or enabling it works really fine. There is no bug related to that remains. Again, self-explanatory.
Oh, there is a bug in there in Linux.
This one?
The auto boot minimize argument is not working. So when you start your computer, it shows the farmer, and it feels weird.
Yeah, it's displayed automatically. It's not minimized. True. But we have an open issue for that, so we are keeping track of it at least. Should I mention the PRs that are like 2 weeks? Because last week we didn't record the meeting.
If we've already covered it in a meeting, whether it's recorded or not, that's okay. We don't need to go through it a second time.
Okay.
Actually, so a really good improvement was this concurrent sync of the node and the farmer. It helps a lot, and yeah, it minimizes the times stuck in that page a lot.
Yeah, for the ones who are watching the video on YouTube, let me elaborate on that. So first, we were waiting on node sync to be completed. Then after that, we were starting initial plotting. Now both of them starts at the same time, so we are really gaining some time here. So we can jump into the issues. The closed ones are, as we mentioned, this is the technical terminology for the Macos signature failure, the crash. And other ones are, again, the ones we mentioned, so we don't need to go over them, I believe. The new open ones are interesting. This will be already handled by the new PR, so we don't need to worry about that. But I can show you the changes to README.
Yeah, let's
let me do it like that.
hey Özkan, let's go through the issues high level, and then we can go through the README and the demo and the feature, the actual UX changes at the end. But let's try not to go too deep into any of these as we just go through them right now.
Okay, so this is basically Rust toolchain is updated yesterday, 23rd March, and the new nightly toolchain is creating a problem with ring crate, so we are not able to compile our application. That's why we need to stick to the previous 15th of February build of Rust. So we are keeping track of that. When this issue is solved, we will be able to return back to most up-to-date nightly of Rust. This is another thing. One of our users in Discord mentioned that he was using the advanced setting when started the application, and he was importing his mnemonic, and still he was getting a new mnemonic generated, and this was causing other issues, the database being deleted and so on, some other issues. This is a big one. This is a big bug. So that's why I included in the README that advanced part is not fully working. So we may be considering that disabling that advanced button for now, at least.
Let's just disable it. That's the right thing to do until it is working.
So Nazar found out that after the application is working, like let's say when you first open the application, it consumes around 300 megabytes or something in the RAM. But after some time, probably because of some memory leak, we don't know exactly why, it goes up to like 1.5 gigabyte, which is not logical. So we will be inspecting and fixing that. Is
there any intuition if that's related? Sorry, is there any intuition if that's related to the recommitment, or if it's related to the plotting or the desktop app?
It's from the front end, from Vue components, Polka.js, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just front end things.
So this is what we have been discussing. At the end of the start of the app, there should be a model for user confirmation. And then as Leo suggested, whenever the person clicks on testnet banner, it can pop up again for just viewing purpose.
Sorry, is it at the end or at the beginning? I thought Leo said it was at the beginning.
Beginning.
Oh, okay.
If I said in the end, my bad. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, beginning. Yeah, the other ones are previous ones, so those are not the new ones.
I got a question in there, because maybe do we have some external link related to we are in non-incentivized tenants, so we can maybe add a link, more info, something like that?
We don't, not yet.
Should be really good to have it, because it will be to inform the user correctly.
Okay, so that's the overview of open and closed issues and the progression for the last week. Any questions?
Do we have a project board for this that we can prioritize these in any way, or show what's being worked on versus what's in the backlog?
No, we just have tags. So for example, some of them are back burner, some of them are next iterations. So
we'll have everything in here. Yeah.
Okay.
I was curious about project board. So if you want, I can implement that for the next week, and we will have a proper project board for the next week.
I think that'd be really great. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to
Okay,
use?
cool.
Are we using the one built into GitHub or no?
Yeah. In
Yeah.
GitHub.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's
And
keep
the
it
beta
as,
version one, right?
sorry.
Because there are two versions of project boards. One of them is beta, one of them is the old one. I was referring to the new beta one.
Oh, what's the difference?
I don't know yet. Just the new version has more capabilities and
Okay.
it's new.
Yeah, the
Okay.
old one was very limited, and I think that we are not using it because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Makes
tried it
sense.
sometime.
Yeah, just try to
Cool.
keep it as simple as possible with like, you know, three to five lanes or what are they called? Swim lanes,
Boards.
max.
Of
Boards.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Do you want me to proceed to demo or readme? Which one?
Yeah, let's go through the README and then the demo.
Okay. README has not changed yet, so I'm gonna show it from here. Oh, okay. It's merged. Then should remain. Okay, we are good to go. So how to install section did not change. I didn't do anything to that, but I did put how to upgrade the section after your comment, Jeremiah. I believe that will be really helpful. So what I thought is simply uninstall the application, then download the latest release, install the new program, run the application, and it should detect the old plot and continue farming as usual. But some releases can include some breaking changes. So that's why I put the note here, unless stated otherwise, you don't need to delete your existing plot, you don't need to create a new identity, and you don't need to tinker with config files. So I'm planning to include a note in the releases if there is some breaking change about these three items.
Yeah, and
For
I think,
example,
go ahead, sorry.
No, okay, no problem. For example, the next release will include some changes to folders so that it won't be able to detect your old plot. So that's why I'm thinking of embedding that message into the release.
Okay. At this very early stage, we might have some users that can manually delete their plots and manually delete their config files, but we really want to get away from having that even be a possibility that they need to do that. As much of that should be automated. So if we have some breaking change to the plot structure, then part of the auto updater should realize that, like, hey, this is a breaking change, and in the last version, this is where everything was, and it just automatically wipes it, and then it rewrites it to the new, to the new path in this new version. But we don't want to have to make the user think about this. I mean, we already have 600 users doing this, and if 10% of them can't figure this out, then 60 of them are going to file support requests, right? And Justin will be pulling his hair out.
Yeah, now that we have updated to the latest Tauri versions, we have the latest Tauri API and everything, we can work in this updater.
Yes, like we weren't working on the auto updater, and yeah, as Leo said, we can work on that now.
I have a pretty good.
But until that is merged, like we have to do it manually.
I was doing some research onto that auto updater, Leo. I'd be happy to help you out in getting that going.
Well, I think this is a little bit orthogonal to the auto updater. This is just the notion of if there's a breaking change in a release, whether it's auto updated or manually updated, when the user downloads the new release, that there should be like something at the scripting level or at the installation level or at the Rust level that detects these are different and then goes ahead and wipes the plot and starts the plotting over again.
Yeah, we got a special some kind of hook that detects the current version and the new version, And we can tag the new version in some way that this is a breaking change, so delete all config and all cloud data. And if not, just keep everything to nothing and upgrade the app.
Okay.
That's the idea, I think.
Okay, I see.
And probably there's a UX change there as well. Once we have the auto updater, if we do have to delete the plot and the config file, that we need to notify the user, hey, there's been a breaking change. You have to update your plot. This is going to take a while. Like, don't expect it just to load automatically.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's the update on README. The below is same as usual. I didn't update it.
Okay, looks great. This is a huge improvement, Oskin. If you scroll up to the top, there's still one thing that I think we need to fix. Okay, everybody asks me, and I'm sure you guys get asked all the time. I see it in Telegram and Discord. How do I install a farmer? Where's the link? And you give them the link to this repo, and they go to it. And they're like, okay, it's a desktop farmer, but what does that actually mean? And it just says it's built with something. Like, just a little explanation of what this actually is for someone who just lands in here. Because we're assuming they know what Subspace is, what farming is, that we have a test net. Like, there's all these like external things that we could just point out here to orient the user when they come into this repo.
Of course. Yeah, will do. Okay, do you want me to give a demo or any questions?
Just one minor comment. Maybe we can add some kind of like a banner, image for the README for repository. I know it doesn't add any like value, but it looks just cooler.
Yeah, much better. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we used to have one of those on the main repo. I don't know if I haven't looked at it in a while if we still have that, but like, yeah, something like that, like just give it a little bit of style and like those little things that show, we had something better in an older version. It looks like that got deprecated at some point. And then like these little like tags with the icons, like that just gives more like credibility, and people are like, oh, cool. These guys are actually like dot their I's and cross their T's.
Yeah. We can use the logo embedded to the application, so it will be fitting. Subspace network icon I am referring to. Okay. I guess it's time for demo then.
Should we add
So
how to run this code? Because we have
how to install actually. Like, this is including how to run. Maybe I should change.
No, I mean how to run the project, like with
how to build it, run it locally,
and yeah.
For that we have development.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, we got that.
Okay. So I downloaded the damage file, DMG file from releases, like from here in assets, select the version for your operating system. I downloaded it, and when I click on it, it shows.
Hey, that's good. Is it possible that you can show us the latest build, like even if it's not the latest release, or I guess whatever, just the latest whatever's been merged?
I'm showing that. I'm showing this one. Yeah.
But didn't you say that there's features that have been merged that aren't in this yet? That issues that have been completed?
Okay.
Like the latest main.
Latest main.
Yeah.
I can try, but it could be that I need to rebuild, and it can take time. But I can give it a shot.
Do we have it? Okay.
Yeah, if you got it up, Leo, you can walk us through it too. Yeah, just in general, the closer we are to like the latest version, the better feedback we can give.
Okay.
More quickly. even if it's not necessarily what's out in the public yet.
Leo, if you have it,
I'm trying to.
or
It's building from zero. Yeah, I was in another branch.
yeah, me too.
Okay, maybe while we're
Let's
waiting on
maybe-
that to build, we can talk about the release process that you were thinking about, Özkan.
Of course. So I made a note in here on what we do have at the moment for release management and what are we missing, in my opinion. So let me walk through you. So since our development team is diverse and we have access to different machines like Macos, Windows, and Linux, we actually initially cover these, like, is it working in Linux or MacOS, which is nice. Our releasing procedure is automated by script, which is really good. Since we are using GitHub, we can always do a rollback and we have a backup plan in case we mess things up. We have unit and integration tests, which are also really nice. Our whole infrastructure is actually, as far as I know, really automated. And we just implemented these plain English release notes as well. So for starters, I believe we are good, especially for Subspace desktop. We don't have any automated test related to system or functional tests. So is this feature is working? Is the syncing the node or initial plotting finishing, blah, blah, blah. We don't have any automated tests about that. We don't have a naming convention. Like, we are following the SAMware convention, like updating major, minor, and patch versions, but we don't use alpha, beta, and RC naming conventions. We can use that. It should be more insightful for the users. Another idea is, like, sometimes we have some breaking changes or really critical changes. And although we test these changes on our machines as the developers, as you said, Jeremiah, we should probably hand this out to the users who are not the developers of Subspace Desktop, and they should test these changes on their machine and confirm us that these are the new features are actually working or the bugs are actually fixed. Again, for Subspace Desktop, I believe having a dynamic key performance indicators would be good. What I'm talking about is the initial plotting phase. So let's say on our machines, it would take around, let's say, 1 minute or 10 minutes or 1 hour, whatever it is. We can set a dynamic key performance indicator, and if it's not close to that or regressed, we can know that something is wrong, is bottlenecking the application. And also, as I did in this pre-release, I don't know if it's the best practice or not. I just thought of it on my own. Like, we can set a criteria for each pre-release to become a real release, so that until that criteria is filled, we should keep it as a pre-release. That's all the things that I came up with, and the ones I've been researched on the internet about best practices.
Okay, this is a great start. I've got a lot of comments here, a lot of things I think we can add, but I'd like to get feedback from the group as well. And please, like, note all this stuff down. I was going to add it to the what are we missing as people come up with it. Does anybody have any suggestions on anything else we should add into this process, or just a more kind of formal structure of how this process should work?
I agree with the naming conventions thing. I think it would also be good to do the same thing across Subspace, just because all of the different naming convention across all of our repos is going to quickly get confusing.
Yeah, that's definitely a deeper problem that that we have to work out with Nizar and the rest of the team.
From my side, I would add easy feedback mechanism for us, so we can just gather feedback from users, not just in the chats, but maybe in one place for all of them.
Do you have something in mind or an
Where?
idea of how that could work?
I'm not sure if there are any mechanisms for that on GitHub. That would be great, but I'm just not sure.
So just like feedback, like subjective feedback, or like if there's a bug, like what do you mean?
Yeah, it might be different. So I think for bugs it should be GitHub, but for just some UX problems and maybe some suggestions, what should we add? We can create maybe another feedback mechanism, feedback page, or something like that. That might be on I don't know, on Notion, for example.
Okay.
But why can't user, if they have a suggestion, they can still create an issue? It will just have a label, for example, like feature request or something.
Yeah,
Because
okay,
issues
that works too.
are not just for problems, right?
Yeah, of course, got it.
Yeah, that's definitely something we want to have. I mean, that's not necessarily part of the release process, but it's like post-release, we want to get feedback, or we just want to incorporate user feedback into the next iteration as quickly as possible. And maybe there's a way we can make that more clear, like in the app, like at the bottom, for example, there could be like, would you like have an idea how to improve? Like click here, and it takes you to like a default feature request, like issue template on GitHub for that repo.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, any other ideas?
I was thinking about the assets in the release notes. So currently we have like assets with different extensions, but maybe it will be nice to specify the operating system in the name, because regular user might not know that DMG is like for macOS and MSI is for Windows. So it will be more clear.
You want to mention that in the release notes or in the name of the downloadable file?
And in the name of the file.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I already had that problem. I was trying to install it on Windows, and I haven't used Windows in so long. I didn't even know which file was the right one, and I had to guess. Yeah, I think also like we probably want to long term. This is not an immediate priority, but we want to get to the point where these releases maybe show up on our webpage, so they're a little bit more trusted or more simple. So it's like I don't have, like a non-technical user is not intimidated by like, oh, I have to go to GitHub, click the releases page and download from this like scary thing that those like software developer people use. But I can just go to the website and click a link and download like the Windows, whatever. Or like a lot of applications now, it like auto detects your platform. And so it just says click download here. And then it just knows that, oh, this is a Windows machine from like the user agent, I guess, in the browser. And it automatically points you to like the Windows build. Not something later. I know that's more complex, but that's what we want to eventually move towards.
Yeah, that can be the most frustrating thing in the world when that malfunctions on you.
I got
another thing that
running version to show.
Leo, please go ahead.
Oh, let's wait till we finish this, Leo, and then we can jump into that.
Sure.
Okay, so another thing that we get in a lot from a community, it's system requirements. So how many should I use resources for running this desktop or running these terminals, running this node, basically. So maybe we can just add just a little information about that.
Okay, so I don't know if that's specific to I mean, that's not going to change with the releases. That's like that's maybe just something to improve the README. So that's just more like a general improvement. It's a good point though. I know we get asked that a lot. So that's probably something that we can just add a note to the README. Like just again, like maybe in that intro paragraph, Oskin, just like be really clear, this is designed to run on any Windows, Mac, or Linux machine, Raspberry Pi, whatever, built in the last 15 years. It should work. Like as long as you have like 2 cores, 2 gigs of RAM, and 500 gigabytes or whatever it is that we have now of storage. Although that'll eventually change even.
Except Macs. We can't go that far back on Mac. Because
okay, so we need to specify that, how far back we can go on Mac in that README.
they just have some test. They're very particular with like code signing in their versions and everything.
Okay, can we work on that together, Justin, then, on this item?
Yeah, I actually have a Mac
Okay.
that won't run it and a Mac that will. So that'd be perfect.
Great.
Okay, any other suggestions on release management? Okay, Eskin, can you scroll up a little bit back to the top,
Of
please?
course. Let me make it more.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I have in mind is we're probably going to get to a very deliberate, like 3 to 5 stages of release here eventually. So it's important to note that this is a wallet. Basically, this is something that is has the ability to generate and manage private keys for users that can be used to spend their funds. And so we are going to have we are working on getting a security audit of this done. And any changes that we introduce with respect to that code, and maybe with respect to any code, will eventually need to go through a security audit as well before they get released. So this will eventually become a very, very deliberate process of updating this. We're not at that stage yet, but we're going to be getting there soon. In the meantime, I think we need to define like the stages. Okay, so stage 1 basically right now is, does it work on the developer's machine? And luckily we have enough developers working on it that generally means it works on a developer's machine across all platforms, kind of by implicitly, I guess. Stage 2, and I don't know how deliberately we're doing this right now, but Justin has one of each machine basically in his setup, and he should be like, after like the code is deployed, it all works. Justin should be doing like sort of the very basic, like spin it up, you know, on like wipe those machines, download the new version, and let it run for like 24 hours to make sure that it works, like that it syncs. Basically, it syncs, it plots, and it farms, and it can produce
Like confirmation of the happy path.
Confirmation of the happy path, right? Now, in parallel with that, probably Justin can, like maybe after Justin confirms that, like after the first hour, like basically seems to work, there's not like any immediate challenges, we should be deploying that to like our alpha sort of test net, or like our alpha users, which would be like our ambassadors, some of our core team, and maybe if there's just some people that are really, I know there's a lot of people that have reached out to us regarding testing.
So, okay. So this can go along with like these 2 steps can be go in parallel, right?
Yeah, and that's really going to be Justin like coordinating that. Like Justin will, you know, run it like, okay, it seems to be working, you know, like sanity check seems to be working. It's not fully done because I haven't run it for like 24 hours or whatever. Haven't done like full testing, but let's like spread the load out and let a lot of, like, the more people test it, the faster that we'll find bugs, right?
Of course.
Okay. Stage 3, after all of that has been confirmed, is and I guess like we could say 2A and 2B are like pre-release, really. Stage 3 is we're ready for a full release. We're ready to roll it out to the community, like in our Discord and our Telegram, and ask everybody to upgrade or just auto updates by default if that works. And that should be like explicit communication between you know, Justin and you, Oskin, or whoever's managing that release process, like explicit confirmation. Hey, we've tested this, like on, like, users have tested this on all 3 platforms. It's been running for 24 hours. Everybody worked there. We didn't identify any bugs, and we're ready to, you know, to release. There should be, like in 2C somewhere, or maybe in the longer path, like there should be, and probably, like, Justin, I know you don't have the time to do all this, so this is like the ideal path here right now. But as we bring on like a support engineer, one of the support engineers' jobs will be actually confirming some of this, that these things work as well. And maybe this could be a good job for some of our summer interns as well. Justin, in the meantime, is actually verifying, like, for each feature or for each bug, that it does, you know, like, we don't have like really good ticket definition right now. That's another thing we're going to work on, like acceptance criteria. But for each ticket, there should be acceptance criteria, and somebody should verify after, you know, in this stage 2, in this pre-release, that each one of these does actually work, right? That the bug was fixed, or that this new feature works as expected. Okay, there's also going to be a stage of, and this is like how it will probably work for the next month, maybe a couple months. But then there's also a stage of audit as well. So probably after it goes from pre-release, before it goes to release, there will eventually be like a security audit stage. And we're working on getting a security partner that can help us more continuously audit this. And hopefully we can scope, like, we can scope the code or structure the code in such a way that we isolate the functionality that has to do with like key management, so that if we never change that code, we can change the rest of the project and it doesn't impact it, right? That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because there will be a separate.
We have been doing for now, like all the coding, the methods from the view components. We are moving like step by step to the library folder and having all that in there. So,
cool.
All this audit, I got a question in there. All this audit process will be before we implement or migrate to React and implement new styles and everything? In terms of timing? Yeah.
Probably.
So we have to really polish the current application with Quasar and Vue.
We'll see based on the audit, I guess, how much we have to polish it, but maybe. We lost your screen there, Oskin.
Yeah, I know. Some issue happened. Sorry. I'm gonna get it working again. Okay.
Okay, so there's another stage in here of automated testing, which you kind of mentioned up there as well with, there's unit tests, and then there's integration tests or end-to-end tests as well. That's going to be another thing that we're going to work towards, so that ideally we can automate as much of this testing, like, or at least regression testing as possible. That'll come later, but yeah, testing, like, the goal, like, this will be more manual at first, and then we will get it more automated as time goes by.
Yeah.
But the main thing here is really just explicit communication, mainly between you and Justin, until we get into a release mode, and then really good communication, like Justin and Diana, with the community or with the users as we do these upgrades. Even like maybe notifying them, like, hey, pre-release coming tomorrow, or like pre-release testing, release hopefully coming tomorrow, and then like release coming tomorrow. We'll probably even get to the point where we have like, you know, email, like just like we used to do the community updates, like the R&D updates, we might do it just for the farmer, you know, to have like a more specific, more clear kind of like expectations around this app. Because I think this will be the way most people interface with the protocol. And ultimately what they care about is how this app performs and what's changing in this app.
Yeah, I have a question though. Like we mentioned previously, like we can do daily pre-releases, but for these stages, and from what I have been researching, I believe this turning a pre-release into a release may take a couple of days. And if we published, let's say 3 pre-releases, one after another, in consecutive days, like the previous one or the middle one will get ignored by the users. So is there a point for daily pre-releases? Is it still meaningful?
Our goal would be to get this down so that, like right now it's 24 to 36 hours with manual testing. Our goal would be to get it down to less than an hour with automated testing. And every issue is a release. And then we just bundle these up, you know, in some sort of release notes, like periodically, like on a weekly or bi-weekly basis or something like that. So yes, our goal is still to get to as incremental as possible. We're just at a more kind of lockstep phase right now. Like we're still trying to get to like good weekly. I think we're like maybe 2 a week now sometimes releases. But yes, the goal is still to get to as quickly as possible. And there will be like critical bugs which will get released more quickly, you know, that without all of this. Like if we were to, like, for instance, introduce a bug, if we did do a release and it got out into the whole community and it ended up crashing a bunch of nodes, you know, we'd have to do like a hot fix to get everything updated without going back through this process.
True. Okay. All right.
Cool. Okay, I think we're good here.
Because okay, one more question. So
yeah,
this pre-release hasn't turned into a release yet, the 2.1. And after we upgraded to Tauri, which is a big step, we will also be publishing a new pre-release. So should I publish that new pre-release, like the new one, or should I wait for this pre-release to be turned into a real release?
So every time that you get to a pre-release, Justin should start testing it and getting community testing. And if within an hour, a day, or a week, you get a new pre-release out, then they'll just upgrade to that and continue testing.
Okay.
So it will just replace whatever they're testing at the time being, and they'll start over. But I don't want it to be like, well, I don't want them to have to test it twice, so I'll wait, you know, and try to bundle it all up. That's like moving back towards the other direction of like, then we get back to like weekly or bi-weekly, and we just keep you know, taking longer to get features released. We want to err on the side of like a little bit of rework on the testing to get features out more quickly.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Oskin, for going through that, and thanks for putting that together.
No problem.
Okay, I think we're ready for a demo now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Just let me find. Okay. I don't trust that because previously the other DMG file was in here, so I will eject that and going to find the manual path.
You've got it working, right, Leo?
I find it. It's here.
Okay.
So we have this banner in every page now. I cannot make this bigger, sorry. And in here, start on boot is enabled. And let me show it from here. Like if I go to users and groups and login items, let me remove all of them, or let me keep one of them. And if I disable this, it will disappear. If I enable this, it will reappear. The reason I had two of them because the previous version was also overrid that, and two instances were running, so no big deal. Again, if I do that, it will disappear and reappear. Everything is working, and I also tried restarting my computer. It started automatically as expected. This is the same behavior on Linux and Windows as well. So we got that covered. Any questions about the first page and this launch on boot? Okay. So quick start, no changes on this screen other than this banner. So here, again, nothing is changed. And in here, let me go through here. Like this is disabled, and when I click reveal, it's now enabled so that I can proceed. And this is now showing the archival progress instead of node syncing progress. So we didn't want to give too much information and confuse the users. So basically there are two things going on. One of them is syncing of node, and when node is syncing, in the background we are also plotting these new blocks that we get from the node. But the important part is the initial plotting, and this is the bottleneck at the moment. So that's why we are showing this, and this is more meaningful to the users as well. So it's also showing how much data is plotted and how much is remaining, and also elapsed time and remaining time are adjusting themselves accordingly to your network speed, actually. So we got that going. It will take a while, so probably we won't see the end screen. But in the end screen, I don't think we have any changes for comparing to the latest release. Dashboard is working as expected, and no new changes there.
Awesome, looking good. I was able to get it working on my machine last night for the first time with no installation errors, no code signing errors, and it did plot from the get-go. And I've been farming, and I've got like 5 blocks since then. So it's working on my machine finally. Does anybody have any questions or feedback on the latest version of the UI or the features or functionality?
I mean, overall, I think it's going pretty well. Good job, everybody.
Okay, cool. I've got a few pieces of feedback or issues. If you go back to the home screen, you don't have to. I'm just saying on the home screen, we've got the advanced. So we need to create an issue to remove the advanced until we fix the issue related to what the user brought up about the import not actually working correctly.
Yeah.
And that would be like a hot fix, in my opinion, just in case somebody is trying to use that. On the Mac, on my computer, when I run it, I get the Subspace icon in my dock, and I also get the Subspace icon in my tray. And the expected behavior there, with all the other apps that work in the tray, is that when I quit the app, so it disappears from my dock, it should remain in the tray. But when I quit the app, it actually gets pulled from. It doesn't stay, it leaves. It disappears completely. It's not in the tray or the or the dock. Like it shuts down the application. It doesn't move it to the background.
It should not be the case. For example, see, I opened it, and if I close it, it's staying in here and here.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not the what I'm trying to say is if you go down, like, okay, so click the X.
Yeah.
Click X. Okay. So now, so you
It
see
should-
how you got that? So if you quit
Yeah.
that, like right click and quit, it should remain in the tray.
No, it shouldn't. Because quit on Mac is like completely quitting the app. It
Okay,
should
so
not
with
remain
Docker
anywhere.
with Docker Desktop, it doesn't actually like run the Docker in the dock. It just runs it in the tray. Like all those tray icons that you have up there right now, or like, well, I don't know how many you have, but like for me, like all the tray icons that I have running, they're not running in my dock at the same time.
I agree. The expected behavior I expecting was when I click X in here, it should be gone from here and it should only remain here. Will this work for you?
Sure, I guess that's fine. I mean, I guess it's the
both
same.
of them
Like,
are too much.
yeah, I mean, I guess it should be either if you click X, it disappears from the dock, or if you click quit from the dock, it should disappear. I mean, it shouldn't. I guess it shouldn't appear in the dock in the first place. It should only appear up in the tray.
Yeah, can be. Yeah.
Is that a limitation of Tori, or is that just the way that we're implementing it right now?
We did not do anything specific for that behavior. It's the default for Tori.
Okay. I mean, remind me if I'm wrong, but like Diana, with Chia Desktop, like does it continue to show up in the dock, or does it just stay in the tray?
Sorry, I use that only on Windows.
Okay.
No, but the majority of the applications, when you click quit in the dock, it remains in the tray. I was checking with WhatsApp and Battle.net and everything. Yeah, all of them just keep running.
On Mac.
And disappear.
Yeah.
On Ubuntu
On Mac?
and Linux, actually.
Yeah, on Ubuntu and Linux, yeah, but on Mac, I don't think so.
I think on Mac too, yeah.
Okay, then we have a
I mean, it
disagreement.
depends. Like it depends on the app, like, and the behavior. So like with Telegram, like I have Telegram in my tray and my dock, and when I quit it there, it quits from both. But then I have like Flux, and that's running all the time, and it doesn't show up in my dock. And that's more like how we would expect Subspace to work. Like it's just always running in the background, and but it shouldn't really be like catch my attention by being in the dock.
Yeah. I agree.
So maybe the question isn't should I be able to, if I quit from the dock, should it stay in the tray? It should just never appear in the dock to begin with, because like Flux like just never appears in my dock when I run it.
That's true. The ones stay in the system tray icons on my Mac also are the ones who never appeared in the dock in the first place. So I can agree on that. But quit keyword on Mac is usually defining the app should not run anymore. So that's why I disagreed on like if I click quit in here, I don't think it should stay in the tray.
Okay. So it just shouldn't be in the dock in the first place. So that's the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The other problem is the TSSC needs to be replaced with test SSC.
Yeah, true.
To be more explicit.
We have that actually in the issues.
Okay. Can we move that to like highest priority?
Of course.
It should be a pretty simple fix. Okay. That's all the comments I have, but I think it looks great. It's working really, really well. I'm very happy with it. These are just some minor things to improve here.
Thank you for your feedback. Okay.
Leo, I think you had some feedback as well, or some new ideas here. on next steps?
Sorry, maybe I can show other changes that are important, I think, related to the folders. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then this is just all the same, And a few changes are introduced in here. We are using a different plot directory by default. We are using like the operating system directories. And for Linux, this is the default. For Ubuntu is another, and sorry, for OS X is different. And some validations we are doing in here is that obviously this folder is not created. So if I click in here, it will say that, oh, sorry, I didn't delete the app data in there. Let me. For example, in here, now the directory is not created. So in here is what Skun said, that we need the user confirmation to proceed. If the directory is already created but contains files, you cannot use it, and it shows why. We really need an empty directory for the plot and node data. So if we click creating here, we are able to go to the next screen. And yeah, I think that was the only difference in terms of user confirmations and the way we are changing or updating now all the operating system default directories. The user also can update this, and not use the default operating system directory. But the idea of this is like we were using like an application data folder with all the configuration in there, and we are now splitting this with using the correct folder for configs, the correct folder for auto start scripts, and the correct folder for application data. That is actually the plot directory.
Makes sense?
Yeah, just that.
Okay, cool. What are the next steps? So like what's going to be the roadmap for the next week or two? What are the priorities right now, Oscar?
The changes Leo mentioned will be in the next release. Also, after upgrading Tauri, we can work on the higher priority ones. Those are, let me check on the issues. I believe large memory consumption is a priority. Folders were a priority, but Leo got that covered. Maximize the app from tray when launcher is double-clicked was delayed until Tauri was upgraded, so we can work on that. This one is a question, so let me ask to you. We can actually change the middleware and backends a bit that we can include the opportunity for supplying a reward address. So right now we don't support it in the Subspace desktop, although Subspace monorepo is supporting it. I can make the necessary changes to the backend of the Tauri, Subspace desktop, so that it can support that reward address, entering a reward address.
So that means a reward address which is generated outside the system?
Yes.
Outside the app, which they did from the CLI?
Yeah, exactly. And that will resolve the issue for advanced button. Like the user imported a key and it didn't work. And if we support this importing reward key, it will solve this issue.
Is there a
But
way to
it
solve
will
that
be-
issue? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no problem. So this will require changes to both backend and the front end. So it will be a big change.
Is there a way that we can support that issue without having to have the user use both the CLI or support that feature? I mean, without having to use
CLI. It's Polkadot.js. They get just their normal like wallet that they get.
Oh, so they
set.
just have to generate an address outside
Yeah.
or from the wallet. Okay. But can we not have them generate a reward address in the app?
I think a default one is generated.
Yeah.
So we
I
already
mean,
support the reward address. So you're just saying if they want to import their own reward address.
Yes, my bad. Like importing an external reward address functionality was not supported, and we can support it.
Okay. But if they use the app on one computer and got an address that is a reward address, right? And so they could
Yeah.
just copy and paste that reward address if they ran it on a second machine.
Exactly.
And that would do the same thing.
For technical explanation to what you said, is if they don't do anything when they start the application, the public address they have is effectively their reward address.
Okay. Okay, and what do you need to change in order to support that importing of that reward address?
On the backend side, it should be trivial because the monorepo has already the necessary binary main file for that. It will be, I believe, some copy paste and some minor changes. And on the front end, we should do some validations for checking the validity of the imported mnemonic. Other than that, some more changes on the front end for connecting client data related to that reward address. But other than that, no change.
I thought the reward address was just the public address. I don't
Yeah.
think you need to verify the mnemonic.
I think that we should have like an extra field in the plot setup where
We
you
have
can
that
paste
field.
this address in just that. It's an address. It's a public.
Yeah, we have that field in the when you click on advanced, there is actually a field for importing the address. The validity check I'm mentioning is the current validity check is the length being greater than 0. So if you put 3 on there and click enter, it lets you proceed. It shouldn't be like that. At least some length checked should be there.
Input validation more so rather than verifying it's a mnemonic.
When I click advanced, I got an option to import a private, right?
Yeah, mnemonic.
But for the reward
this
address, yeah, for the reward address, we need just a public key. Yeah. So in the step progress, we should have a button like this, like add reward address. And you click, a dialog opens, you paste your address, and you send this extra argument to the Tauri command to pass it to the farmer to start with this node, with this address. Should be simple, actually.
Yeah.
If you give me the command in Tauri,
in the backend too.
I can do it really fast in the front.
Yeah, we can work on that together, and it should be really simple.
Okay, so if we're just importing a reward address, then is there a need to import a mnemonic, or should it just be to import an address associated with some mnemonic?
I didn't get it.
I got it, but my brain stopped. Unfortunately, I worked a lot today. So.
Okay, so go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say, it was my understanding that that's why we switched to the reward address format, was so that users would stop having to import different farmer identities and mnemonics and that kind of thing. So to your point, Jeremiah, I think it would be better to just replace just have that be the only option, basically, is to specify a reward address or But then if they don't have one, so we do need to generate them a wallet if they don't have one. So I don't know. It's kind of, it might be a start to a bigger problem.
From my point of view, the private key or the mnemonic import is a completely different things from reward address. They are totally separated, and just in one point they are together. And that point is when you start the farmer. You start the farmer with the mnemonic imported, but the reward address is the reward address and is not related in any way with the mnemonic that you imported in the beginning of them. So there shouldn't be a problem with having both features.
Right,
But is
but
it necessary?
right, it's more of like a happy path. Like, why would we include that extra feature on the GUI if it's not something we include in the CLI? Or it's not something we push people to use in the CLI, rather.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, we've got like the happy path would be import your reward address. Like import or create, like basically the basic path is you don't have one, so it generates one for you, and then it gives you the private key or the mnemonic associated with that during the setup phase. If you restart from scratch or on a different machine, then you should just bring in the reward address, which should be linked to that mnemonic. And I guess that's actually a thing we don't do. Do we actually even tell the user what the reward address is anywhere? I guess that's something we'd have to add in with this new feature, is like, not only is there a mnemonic, but there's a reward address, but then that's sort of confusing because they have to keep those two concepts different in their mind.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So you could,
Actually,
so in an advanced setting, you could either, load it from a reward address if you have the address, or you could load it from a mnemonic for the reward address, and it would derive the reward address from the mnemonic. But if we don't, like, I guess we remove a lot of the problems of like audits and managing private keys and being a wallet if we don't even have the option to import from mnemonic, if we just have import from reward address, which is kind of the whole point of like decoupling the security and making that part of the protocol versus part of this application here. But we still have private keys for the farmer, the signing keys for the farmer as well, which are separate, which is what the mnemonic is right now, I believe. But that should be, the user shouldn't have to think about that at all. That should be like outside their knowledge or their concept of what Subspace is or why it matters. That's like an implementation detail of this particular farmer that's being used.
and also like Skylar had a problem trying to sign with the same identity on different machines. Like if we are enabling the import mnemonic, this is also opening the gate for that possibilities, right? So disabling that would be more fine.
Well, not if it's for the reward address, that would be okay. But in the old version where it was for the signing key, that would create, that would force equivocation.
Okay.
But I think it's sounding like maybe we just like want to get rid of the whole notion of import from mnemonic entirely.
I think so. Like I couldn't think of a scenario where it is useful.
Yeah, because it's not an encouraged activity. So anytime they try.
So right now we have this problem that the mnemonic import is actually not working properly. So we have to disable that. Yes or yes.
Yes.
Yes, there is no option. We cannot keep that. But we do have to add this farmer address reward, right?
Yeah,
and just keep that. And actually, as Jeremiah said, if I think it's like it solves all the problems in terms of security for now, at least. We just need that because these rewards are in every farmer block are like related to like instantly, right?
Right.
Yeah, the user can lose his computer, and if he keeps the other account keys, he will not lose anything.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay, let me try to restate this clearly one more time to make sure we're all on the same page here. So I think what I'm suggesting, and I'd love to get everybody's feedback on this, if it's a good idea, bad idea, whatever, is that we have in this, so we start the farmer for the first time. There's no notion of importing a mnemonic. There's only, like, for the first time, it's create new reward address or import existing reward address where that's a public key. If you create a new reward address, then it does generate a public private key pair, basically just a Subspace account for you. It does give you the mnemonic for that account, and you do have to save that, but that is not stored anywhere in the application state. It's just deleted as soon as you get it. There are other private keys that are being generated. Like for every plot you have, there will be a private signing key for the farmer, but that has nothing to do with spending the funds. The worst you can do is equivocate and burn somebody's plot if you were able to get those keys. But it does nothing to their rewards. It just prevents their ability to get future rewards. All that is hidden from the user completely. So the tricky part there is we have to give them a mnemonic, and we actually have to give them a reward address, both, because when if they were to start a new desktop app, we want them to bring in the reward address, not the mnemonic. Although I guess they could do both theoretically, but we probably don't want to confuse them by giving them two different options, because they're going to need that mnemonic so they can go create a wallet in Polkadot.js to spend those funds. But we really don't want to be importing that mnemonic to in another desktop app. We just want to be importing the reward address, another version of desktop app. So I think that's going to be a tricky UX problem there, is how do we make that clear? Like, how do we not confuse the user when we give them these two pieces of data and they have to distinguish between them? And
wouldn't it be just fine if they imported by mnemonic? Because it's not the farmer identity, so it's not going to cause equivocation, and we can just convert it to their public address and then delete it again, and we still have that same information. Because like Polkadot.js works that way. You can do the mnemonic or the private key, and it just automatically detects and moves on.
yeah, we could. I guess, I mean, the beauty of not having the mnemonic is it's just like, at least not having that on the import, is it's just like simpler.
That's fair.
But we certainly could. We could just make it like the mnemonic, but that's just to derive the reward address, not to, it's not stored anywhere in the application state. It's not used for signing or anything like that.
Or we can say to the user with a simple sentence, reward address connects your Subspace desktop instances together and grants you a final reward address, so something like that, in simple English. That should not confuse them.
So present both, but give like a simple explanation of the difference between them during the setup phase.
Yeah, like import reward key or create new reward address. Yeah.
What do you think, Diana? Are you following us so far, or do you have any opinions here?
Well, this part with a mnemonic phrase is kind of hard to understand for me.
Okay, so the idea of just starting from a reward address seems simpler, or seems more user-friendly?
Yeah, I guess so. The thing that's working right now with a node, it's perfectly fine with community. I got a feeling that everyone actually understood that correctly and have no issue with that. So. Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering if we could like link this back to the wallet, to the Polkadot.js wallet. If there's a way that we could, like, in the app, it generates the private key, or sorry, the mnemonic on the first load. And then there's a button that's like transfer to Polkadot.js wallet. And then you click that, and then it opens up the wallet. It, generates your account there. It's kind of like linking it to MetaMask in the Ethereum sense. And then that wallet maintains the address, and then the next time you load, like if you wanted to create a new version of the app, it would say generate like import reward address, and it would say like, where do I get my like, how do I find my reward address? Kind of like lost password question mark link that you have like on most logins. Like, where's my reward address? And then it says open like your Polkadot.js wallet and copy and paste this like public key and import that, something like that. Like just passing everything off to Polkadot.js so that they don't have to really, like there could be a thing in the import where they can reveal their mnemonic if they really want to, but otherwise that's all kind of handled by the default path of how that works in Polkadot.js. Like we're just, from their point of view, we're just creating this like this flow. And they don't really have to think about it or understand what's happening. They just have to follow instructions more.
I like this.
Maybe we can have an option to just fetch addresses, like accounts from Polkadot.js extension, like most web applications integrated with Polkadot do. Like for Polkadot native people, that would be more familiar, I guess.
Sorry, I didn't get it. I didn't get that.
Like on the crowd loan apps, you go there and you first time you visit the web application, there will be a pop-up like how does it look? I don't know, like connect wallet, connect with the Polkadot.js extension, and it will show like a list of accounts you have in your Polkadot.js.
Huh?
And in Subspace, you can just pick one and get rewards on that particular account.
Okay, so you're saying when I'm setting up the farmer, it would, if I need to create a new reward address, it would just like try to open Polkadot.js extension in my default browser, effectively like launch the browser, and then it would take me. No,
you don't need to load browser, because this is basically like a web application is just packed as a desktop application, but it works as a web application under the hood. So you can use, I think there is a way you can get access to your extension.
I don't know if this browser that Quasar or Tauri uses support extensions. If it does, yeah, we can probably inject this like manually. But that will means that the user will need to import at some point or create an account in the extension to have a list of addresses to select. So the process will be even more harder for the user, I think, because he will be in this page. He will have to create an account with or import a mnemonic in the extension and create an account, and just at that point he will have like a public address to use to select.
Okay, maybe we can just like copy paste for a start, and then
yeah, I think that for now I don't, obviously validating that the format is correct and everything.
Yeah, I think there's a trade-off here between like usability and passing the buck on security a little bit to the wallet versus having all that in our own app. And if we can figure out like a good linking flow, that it might be preferable to do it all through the Polkadot.js extension. But I see how it could be. If we do it poorly, it could be far more confusing than it is right now. And the Polkadot.js extension is notoriously bad as the user experience already. Serge, one thing I was trying to understand, are you saying that we could almost like have the Polkadot.js extension UI within the farmer because it is a browser already, versus like having to like load it in a browser separately?
Yeah, so the desktop application, because it's like a basically JavaScript application, right? It runs
Right.
in the browser, but it looks like a desktop application, but there is
Right.
like it uses same environment as a browser.
Right.
So I was thinking it might be possible, maybe not right now, but at some point we can integrate it.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. Okay, food for thought. I think we can agree right now at least that we're just going to have import the reward address for this new feature, and that we will just have to display the reward address when we generate the key on the first setup.
Yeah.
And we can work out a better, more cleaner flow here later. Okay, we're a little bit over time. I think we're good unless there's any other pressing issues you guys need to cover.
No. Should I stop recording?
Yeah, sure. Thanks everybody for watching.